Flop is deuce 7-3, a pair of deuces for Ferguson.
And look how immediately those figures change. Now TJ is only 29% to win this hand and stay in the tournament. A little deuce makes a big difference.
Turn is 6 of diamonds, so now only an ace or a 10 can prevent TJ Cloutier from being eliminated.
And making a Chris Ferguson-Phil Hellmuth final.
It will be a Chris Ferguson-Phil Hellmuth final as Ferguson eliminates Cloutier to move to the championship match.
You're out on me again, Joey. We got down heads up twice, both times the key hand when you drew out.
As TJ bemoans a deja vu loss, Lindsay's with the winner.
Chris, congratulations. Did it feel like a replay of the 2000 World Series?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm playing a lot better than I did in 2000. I've learned a lot since then, so I was happy to see TJ again, and I congratulate him. He's just such a fantastic player. I'm really proud to have beaten him.
And now, you face the bad boy of poker, Phil Hellmuth. What are you prepared for?
I'm prepared for an exciting match. I'm really looking forward to this, and it's just going to be just a wonderful match. It's going to be a lot of fun.
What is the best way to handle someone like Phil? Do you respond to his antics?
He's probably not going to do anything. He knows he can't get to me. I mean, if he says anything or whatever, I'm just going to be stone-faced. I'm just going to ignore it completely, and that's the style I've adopted, and it works pretty well.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Our All-In Magazine play of the day. One of the reasons Chris Ferguson has gotten to the championship match, the hand in which he beat Cloutier with quad sixes.
He was real cool. He enticed TJ to bet. TJ lost a big pot and some of his composure.
Ferguson won a big pot. It was the decisive hand of the match. So the table is set for the championship. Displaying the sharp skills he had in the 2000 World Series Finals, Chris Ferguson eliminated TJ Cloutier, and Phil Hellmuth has done what 4 other great players couldn't do, closed the curtain on the magician.
Well, that was fun.
We'll reset the tables, and in just a few minutes, Phil Hellmuth and Chris Ferguson will slug it out to decide who will be the National Heads Up Poker Champion.
The battle continues, but now finally, mano a mano.
I really think we're going for the final one.
The pressure's building.
Heads up is the essence of poker.
So the heat is on, baby.
The final match is set, playing for the first ever National Heads Up title. Each player starts with $640,000 in chips in match 1 of a best of 3 as 2 former world champions, Chris Jesus Ferguson, winner of the 2000 World Series main event, faces off against the 1989 world champ Phil Hellmuth.
As much experience as these 2 players have, this is something new to both of them. Heads up, they've been through 5 matches, they've each won them. Now they're going to face each other. They're both a little nervous right now.
9-7 suited for Hellmuth. He calls. 6-4 for Ferguson, who checks.
See if anybody tries to take an early advantage here by playing a little fast.
Flop comes 8-3-4, pair of 4s for Ferguson.
Again, stone-faced.
He bets 12,000.
Now Phil Hellmuth has picked up a flush draw. Now remember, in previous matches, he sort of waited. Let the opponent come to him, waited till he's made the hands.
He raises to 37,000 here on that flush draw.
Here he's changed his style. Good idea, because Chris knows how Phil has been playing, and Phil's changing his style. He's betting on a draw. He hasn't done much of this the whole tournament.
Ferguson folds, and Hellmuth takes down the pot.
And his change in style works.
All right, the championship round is underway, and Gabe, when this tournament began, was such a stacked field that included some of the top players in poker. We knew whatever matchup came at the end of the tournament would be a great one. As it turns out, Ferguson versus Hellmuth, really a marquee battle.
It sure is, Matt. We have the 2000 world champion of poker, Chris Ferguson, against the 1989 world champion of poker, Phil Hellmuth, and these guys have similar styles. However, how they implement those styles is a lot different. Chris Ferguson is the ultimate gentleman. He never uses any verbal gamesmanship, never tries to throw his opponent off. Phil Hellmuth is Phil Hellmuth. We've seen how he's acted this whole tournament, and he's going to try and act that way against Chris Ferguson. It's a great final match.
All right, up until this point, the structure's been simple. You win and you advance into the next round. Now that we're into the championship round, it becomes a best of 3. So let's get you right back to round 1. Gabe, how important do you think it'll be for these players to reinvent their styles here for this final table?
Very important. Like I said before, they've both got spies in the crowd. Everybody's been telling them how the other guy's been playing. They're going to adjust their game. They're going to try and confuse their opponent.
Ferguson with ace-queen.
No confusion about this hand. It's a raising hand.
To 24,000. Pair of 4s for Hellmuth. He'll call.
Now that's similar to Phil's old style. Doesn't put in any sort of raise. Waits to see the flop.
Flop comes 8, 3 deuce.
Flop breaks is deuce of hearts, 3 of spades, 8 of diamonds.
Hellmuth leads out small, 15,000.
Little different style here. I think before Phil would have checked this. Just called if Chris bet. Now he leads out with a pair. Wants to see if it's the best hand. Chris Ferguson with his same demeanor as usual. It's like they're posing for the same picture. Speak no evil.
And now a raise from Ferguson to 50,000. Hellmuth quickly calls.
Chris Ferguson didn't think Phil Hellmuth had too much. He raised, but Phil Hellmuth, to his credit, called.
And a pair of aces now for Ferguson on the turn.
Phil checked. He's scared of that ace, and rightly so. If Chris Ferguson didn't have him beat on the flop, he probably has him beat now. Chris Ferguson should put in some kind of bet. He doesn't. He checks. Strange play.
River brings a set of 4s for Phil Hellmuth. And now Phil leads out with 50,000.
Chris is probably going to have to call here. He should have bet on 4. I don't understand why he did.
Trips. Ferguson calls, and Hellmuth takes down a nice big pot with his set.
Phil only bet 50,000 there because he didn't want Chris to throw away